Hi, I am Rashid Shfera, a teacher trainer certified by Nile Institute. My work here is simple: helping English teachers as you teach with clarity, confidence, and professional purpose. Here is our new situation: a speaking activity that looks communicative, sounds communicative, and probably appears in thousands of lesson plans. Students are in pairs. Students A asks, "What time do you get up?" Student B answers, "I get up at 7." Then B asks, "What time do you have breakfast?" A answers, "I have breakfast at 7:30." Great. Here there is pair work, there is English, there is talking, but there may be almost no communication. That is the CLT, misunderstanding. We started saying make it communicative, and somehow that became put students in pairs and make them speak, right? So by the end, you will have a 3-question test for any activity. Is there a gap? Is there choice? And 3, is there feedback from meaning? So here is the rule: a communicative activity is not defined by seating arrangement. It is defined by the need to exchange meaning. If students can complete the activity without listening carefully, it is probably not very communicative. If they already know what their partner will say, the task may practice language, yes, but it doesn't create a real reason to communicate. If the goal, and it's the only goal, is use the present simple, that's practice. If we use it for 5 times, that's practice. It's useful, maybe, necessary, maybe, but not yet communication. The quick test is this: gap, choice, feedback. A gap means one person knows, thinks, wants, or sees something the other person doesn't see, or doesn't want, or doesn't think, or doesn't know. Choice means the speaker must decide what to say and how to say it. Feedback means the success of the message changes what happens next. So the question is not, did my students speak? The sharper question is, did their speaking affect another person? Did it help someone choose, draw, decide, understand, compare, or solve? Let us test a common activity. You want students to practice past simple questions. So you give them a list. Where did you go? Who did you meet? What did you eat? So they ask and answer around the class. This is not a terrible activity. Students practice question forms, they get repetition, they may learn something about each other. But if every student has the same list and nobody needs the information afterwards, the communicative pressure is weak. The listener cannot politely and wait for their turn. The answer disappears the moment it is spoken. Now, add a reason to listen. Each student secretly has one unusual weekend detail, and their partner must find the most surprising story in the group and report it accurately. Sadly, the answer matters. Notice what changes here. You didn't need a more advanced grammar point. You just changed the relationship between speaker and listener. And this is why CLT gets misunderstood. Teachers hear communicative and think it means relaxed, chatty, student-centered, and not too much grammar. So they remove the explanation and reduce correction, and hope fluency will appear. But CLT was never supposed to mean no structure. It was a reaction against lessons where students manipulated forms without needing to use them for a purpose. The problem with a lot of fake CLT is that it removes the controlled practice but forgets to add a communicative need. So students are not doing grammar practice and they are not really communicating either. They are just filling time with talk, and that is the awkward middle way of communication. Too open to build accuracy, too empty to build communication. So what does each part of the test look like? First, information gap. Student A has a train table, for example. Student B has a conference schedule. Together, they must choose the train that gets B to the first session or time. Neither students can finish alone. So, second, choice, as we said. I talked about choice. They must decide how to ask, clarify, interrupt, and confirm. They are not simply reading sentences in order. They have options. Those choices may be grammatical, lexical, or social. For example, do they say, what time train? Or do they say, could you check the arrival time for me? Do they interrupt directly or do they soften it? That judgment is part of communication too. I talked about feedback. If A gives the wrong time, B misses the session. If B misunderstands, the plan fails. So the task itself shows whether communication worked. That last part is crucial. In communication, in real communication, feedback is built into the situation. The listener responds, checks, disagrees, chooses, laughs, looks confused, or acts on the message. This is a real life communication. Now, let us upgrade 1 week CELTA Delta style speaking task. Week version, for example, talk to your partner about food you like and dislike. Students can do this task, but after 2 minutes, the conversation often becomes a list. I like pizza. Me too. I don't like fish. Really? Finished. Right? Stronger version. You and your partner are planning food for an international class party. So you have 6 guests with different preferences, allergies, budgets, and schedules. Agree on a menu and be ready to justify it. Now there is a gap because students may have different guest card. There is also choice because they must negotiate. There is feedback because the final menu can be judged against the constraints. So same topic, completely different communicative engine. Now here is the trap. Some teachers hear this and start making every activity complicated. They add cards, maps, mysteries, roles, secrets, secret clues, rotating groups, and the final poster. The room becomes busy, but the language aim gets lost. Communicative doesn't mean elaborate. It means purposeful. A simple information gap can be enough. One student has a picture. One student has a school notice with missing details. The other has the missing times and rooms, for example. One student has a problem. The other has 3 possible solutions and must ask questions before recommending one. So even a pronunciation stage can become more communicative if the listener has to identify which word was said and respond accordingly. So the point is not decoration. The point is consequences. The design question is not, is this exciting? The design question is, does the task make students use language to get something done? And this is where grammar belongs in CLT. CLT is not anti-grammar, it is anti-dead grammar. If students are planning the class party, grammar and vocabulary matter. For example, they need how about, we could, she can't eat, that would be too expensive, let's choose. So you can pre-teach a few useful phrases before the task. You can monitor and collect language during the task. You can pause afterwards and upgrade what students said. No, pizza cheap maybe becomes pizza would be cheaper, but it isn't suitable for everyone. So you can also focus on accuracy after meaning has done its work. That is often where students are most ready to notice the form, because the form now solves a problem they recognize. The difference is that language work answers a communicative need. So students can feel why the phrase matters because they just needed it. So here is your planning checklist. Question 1, what does each learner know that the other learner doesn't? Question 2, what choices must they make with language? 3, how will they know whether the message worked? So if you cannot answer those questions, don't panic. You may still have a useful practice activity. Just name it honestly. Controlled practice is fine. Semi-controlled practice is fine. Rehearsal is fine. In an observed lesson that honestly helps you, you can say this stage builds accurate control before the communicative task. This is much stronger than pretending a substitution drill is communication. In the next video, we will look at the silent way, Suggestopedia, and communicative language learning. 3 radical methods most teachers will never use as a complete systems. But every serious teacher should know, because each one exposes a hidden assumption about what teaching is. Thank you so much for listening. See you in the next video. Goodbye.